The moment Adrian Mercer stepped into the quiet downtown cafe that bright Saturday afternoon, his heartbeat stopped. The table reserved for his blind date was already occupied, but not by the woman he had expected to meet. Sitting there, dressed in an elegant cream-colored suit with a cup of untouched coffee resting in front of her, was the last person he ever imagined seeing outside the office. His boss, Victoria Ashford, the powerful CEO who never smiled during meetings and rarely remembered anyone's birthday, slowly looked up from her phone. Their eyes met, and in that single frozen moment, both of them realized they had been brought to the exact same table by two completely different plans. Neither of them knew whether to leave, or stay. What began as an embarrassing mistake would become the day that changed both of their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and unexpected miracles can change someone's life, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Vault. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that remind the world hope still exists. For nearly 6 years, Adrian's world had revolved around only one person, his 7-year-old son, Noah. Since losing his wife to a sudden illness, every morning began before sunrise. He packed school lunches, braided impossible shoelaces, prepared breakfast, rushed through traffic, worked long hours as a financial analyst, picked Noah up from school, cooked dinner, helped with homework, read bedtime stories, and quietly cried only after the little boy had fallen asleep. His apartment wasn't luxurious, but every wall carried hand-drawn pictures, birthday memories, and tiny reminders that love could still survive inside a broken home. Adrian never complained because Noah deserved a father who smiled, even when life had stolen almost everything else. At work, Adrian was respected but almost invisible. His reports were flawless, his numbers accurate, and his dedication unmatched, yet he always slipped away exactly at 5 o'clock to collect Noah from after-school care. Some colleagues misunderstood his priorities, believing he lacked ambition. Few realized that every minute mattered when your child waited by a classroom window hoping his father would arrive on time. Among those colleagues was Harper Collins, a cheerful project coordinator who admired Adrian's quiet strength. She often noticed him skipping lunch to finish assignments so he could leave early for Noah. Harper believed good people deserved happiness. After months of watching Adrian carry responsibilities alone, she convinced herself that perhaps meeting someone new could help him begin healing. Her younger sister, Isla, had recently moved back to the city after finishing graduate school. She was compassionate, intelligent, and loved children. Harper secretly arranged a blind date, insisting Adrian needed only one afternoon to remember he was still allowed to dream about happiness. Reluctantly, and mostly because Noah encouraged him after overhearing Harper's invitation, Adrian finally agreed. Noah had hugged his father that morning before soccer practice and whispered that maybe nice people sometimes met other nice people by accident. Children often possessed a wisdom adults spent decades trying to recover. Adrian smiled at those innocent words all the way to the cafe, never imagining how strangely they would come true. Victoria Ashford lived in a completely different universe. She led one of the city's fastest-growing investment companies, making decisions worth millions before breakfast. Newspapers admired her discipline while competitors feared her intelligence. Behind every achievement, however, hid a loneliness almost no one recognized. Years of chasing success had quietly replaced friendships with board meetings and family dinners with international flights. Her younger cousin, unaware of Victoria's exhausting schedule, had insisted she meet a successful entrepreneur for lunch at the same cafe. After repeated refusals, Victoria reluctantly accepted, believing perhaps life needed one unpredictable afternoon. Unfortunately, the entrepreneur cancelled moments before arriving because of an emergency overseas. Victoria remained seated, deciding to finish her coffee before returning to work. At exactly that moment Adrian walked inside, spotted the reserved table, and approached with nervous determination. Seeing Victoria sitting there shattered every expectation. Embarrassment spread across Adrian's face. He apologized repeatedly, assuming he had misunderstood the reservation. Victoria looked equally confused until both phones buzzed almost simultaneously. Harper's frantic messages explained she had accidentally reserved the wrong table number while Isla had become stuck helping after a minor traffic accident. Victoria's cousin then called to explain her own guest would never arrive. For a few awkward seconds silence surrounded them before Victoria unexpectedly suggested that since both had already sacrificed their afternoon, perhaps sharing coffee for 15 minutes was less ridiculous than sitting alone. Those 15 minutes stretched into nearly 3 hours. Away from conference rooms and quarterly presentations, Victoria discovered a completely different Adrian. He spoke gently about Noah, never mentioning his own sacrifices unless asked directly. He described bedtime stories, homemade pancakes that never looked like the recipe, school concerts, scraped knees, and the strange courage children gave grieving parents. Every sentence carried honesty instead of self-pity. Adrian, meanwhile, saw a version of Victoria hidden beneath her professional reputation. She admitted success had become easier than relationships because businesses rewarded perfection while people required vulnerability. She confessed she often returned to a silent penthouse where expensive furniture echoed louder than conversation. Wealth had solved countless problems but had never filled the empty chair across her dining table. Sunlight slowly shifted across the cafe windows as strangers became something closer to trusted friends. Neither realized several employees from their company happened to enter the cafe during lunch. Shock spread quickly through whispered conversations. By Monday morning, rumors raced through every department. Some claimed Adrian was secretly dating the CEO for career advancement. Others insisted promotions had already been decided. Office gossip, as always, grew faster than truth. Adrian felt humiliated. His integrity mattered more than any position. He requested a meeting with Human Resources to ensure complete transparency and even considered resigning rather than allowing Noah to one day hear accusations that his father's achievements had been undeserved. Victoria learned about the rumors hours later. Instead of ignoring them, she addressed the entire company during the weekly staff meeting. Calmly but firmly, she reminded everyone that professionalism included respecting colleagues' dignity. She explained there had been an accidental meeting outside work and nothing more. She also announced that performance evaluations would now be reviewed by independent executives to eliminate even the appearance of favoritism. Her response silenced the gossip but earned Adrian's quiet respect. Weeks passed. Life returned to normal, yet something had changed. Victoria occasionally asked Adrian about Noah's soccer matches during elevator rides. Adrian sometimes left children's drawings on Victoria's desk after Noah insisted that the serious office lady probably needed brighter colors in her office. To everyone's surprise, Victoria framed every drawing instead of throwing them away. One rainy afternoon, disaster struck. Noah collapsed during soccer practice after experiencing severe breathing difficulties caused by a previously undetected heart condition. Adrian rushed to the hospital terrified beyond words. Sitting beside the emergency room, he realized he had forgotten both his wallet and several important insurance documents while leaving work in panic. Without telling anyone, Victoria quietly handled everything. She contacted the insurance provider, coordinated paperwork through the company's legal department, and arranged flexible leave so Adrian would never worry about missing work while caring for Noah. She never mentioned any of it. Adrian discovered the truth only after a hospital administrator thanked him for having such thoughtful support from his employer. That act of kindness changed something inside him. For the first time since losing his wife, Adrian understood that accepting help did not make someone weak. Sometimes strength meant allowing others to stand beside you. Months later, Noah successfully underwent surgery. Recovery was slow but hopeful. Every afternoon Victoria stopped by the hospital with books, puzzles, or handmade sandwiches she insisted were improving through practice. Noah adored her. He laughed louder than he had in months, calling her the boss who finally learned how to make grilled cheese. The walls around Victoria's heart slowly disappeared. She no longer measured life only through profit margins and expansion plans. Watching Adrian fight for every smile his son could still share reminded her that success meant little unless it protected the people we loved. Harper often smiled quietly from across the office. Her blind date had technically failed because her sister never even reached the cafe. Yet somehow fate had written a far better story than any careful plan ever could. Isla herself eventually met someone else and happily admitted destiny clearly had different ideas that afternoon. A year later, the company hosted its annual family celebration in a large riverside park. Employees arrived with spouses, children, grandparents, and friends. Adrian walked in holding Noah's hand while carrying homemade cupcakes Noah had insisted on decorating himself. Victoria stood near the entrance welcoming everyone personally instead of remaining on stage as executives usually did. When Noah ran toward her with a giant hug, hundreds of employees witnessed something remarkable. The woman once known only for impossible standards knelt on the grass, laughing freely while accepting a cupcake covered in far too much frosting. In that beautiful daytime sunlight, nobody whispered rumors anymore. Instead, they witnessed kindness transforming people from the inside out. Months after that celebration, Adrian and Victoria quietly began building a relationship founded not on surprise meetings or workplace admiration but on trust, patience, shared struggles, and genuine respect. They understood grief never disappeared completely, yet love never asked anyone to forget the past. It simply offered enough hope to keep walking toward tomorrow. Noah often said the funniest thing about life was that adults spent so much time making plans while happiness usually arrived by accident. Looking back, everyone agreed he was probably right. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and leave a comment. Your support encourages us to keep creating stories that inspire compassion, hope, and second chances for families everywhere. Blue Heart Special Request: comment below with the words, "Kindness always finds a way," if you believe one unexpected act of kindness can completely change someone's future. As the golden afternoon sun reflected across the peaceful river, Adrian realized that the greatest moments in life rarely happened according to schedule. A blind date had never taken place. A mistaken table reservation had rewritten 3 lives forever. A lonely father found hope again. A powerful CEO discovered the family she never expected. A little boy gained someone who chose to stand beside him through fear and recovery. Sometimes destiny doesn't knock on the right door. Sometimes it simply sits at the wrong table, waiting for 2 people brave enough to stay instead of walking away. And that is why the most extraordinary stories are often born from the most ordinary mistakes.